When deep suffering touches our life, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, usually we don't have the energy or the focus to be able to offer long prayers. But what we can do is offer short prayers of saying, Jesus, I give this to you. Jesus, draw me closer to yourself. Because as Father Jim said often in that book, Lessons from the School of Suffering, we either become bitter or we become better. Deep suffering is a knife blade. We can't become ambivalent. When things are going well for us, it's easy to give lip service to our God. It's easy to sing songs of praise. When deep suffering touches our lives, as it will eventually touch the lives of James and John, we either are drawn closer to the Lord or we lose our faith and we become bitter. We do that as earthen vessels that hold this treasure of God's life within us. That became very real for me a good number of years ago when I made one of several pilgrimages over to Medjugorje, that little town in Croatia where the Blessed Mother has purportedly been appearing for over 2 decades. And I went over there at a time of a lot of emotional suffering in my own life. I had been director of a liturgical drama troupe, and we had been traveling over to Europe and across the United States, and some of those trips would be 6 weeks at a time, and I had been traveling in that ministry for the better part of 8 years, and I was burned out. The thought of getting on another airplane, traveling to another city was absolutely agonizing. And I took a little break and I went over with my good friend, Father Mitch Pacwa, over to Medjugorje on our own pilgrimage. And then we stayed longer when the pilgrims flew back home. We stayed there just to make our own retreat. And there were huge lines of people wanting to go to confession. And the last thing I wanted to do was to hear people's confession, because I said, as I went over there, I was kind of burned out and I just needed to be replenished. But after being there a day or two and seeing these people waiting for hours in the hot sun to hear the confession, I started to feel guilty. And so I said, all right, I'm gonna hear confessions. And the people would not stop coming. I heard confessions 2 hours at a crack, 6 hours in the course of the day for several days. And I started to feel sorry for myself. I was saying, here I am, this is my vacation, this is my time of renewal, but I just can't let these people not go to confession because they're lining up. And the confessions were the most powerful confessions. I heard the confession of one lady who had murdered her husband. People who had not been to confession for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, just pouring their hearts out. And I found myself with my heart gradually being softened and transformed. And I found a wisdom coming out of my mouth that surprised me. It was like the Lord was giving me just the words that needed to be spoken. And I said, how is this possible? I'm coming here feeling sorry for myself. I'm burned out. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be here. And yet the Lord is giving me the energy, softening my heart and giving me a wisdom. And I closed my eyes, and it was like there was this hole in my heart. That was my own weakness. I felt myself this earthenware vessel, unable to minister adequately to God's people. But as I looked in my inner eye, the Lord gave me this image of this hole in my heart, and through the hole in my heart was passing this living water that was bathing these people who came to confession, giving them what they needed. That was a transforming experience in my life, because I realized I'm not the Christ. I'm not what these people need. But I can become a vessel to hold and to give to the people what they need. Let's pray that we might glory in that status of being broken pots, that allow Jesus' gospel message to flow through each of us. Amen.
Heart to heart, hand in hand, praying for grace to understand. Spirit of Jesus,